First contact shock. In the observation deck of Nexus Station, Chief Monitor Vexlar's crystalline appendages trembled as he processed the sensor data. The six-limbed Ardanis' bioluminescent skin pulsed with agitation, casting erratic patterns of light across the darkened monitoring chamber. "Impossible," he whispered, his translator implant converting the musical tones of his native language into the standard galactic common. "Run the analysis again." The station's quantum computers hummed, recalculating trajectory paths and energy signatures. After a moment that stretched Vexlar's patience to its limits, the result appeared once more on the holographic display. A human warship had entered the cerulean expanse, a sector that had been declared off-limits to all civilized species following the isolation accord. Humans. The word itself sent a ripple of unease through Vexlar's crystalline structure. It had been nearly 2 centuries since the enigmatic species had withdrawn from galactic affairs, sealing their borders and vanishing behind a veil of silence and technological mysteries. Their departure had come after what historians now delicately referred to as the miscalculation, when the Galactic Council had attempted to restrict human technological development, resulting in a brief but devastating conflict that had left 3 Council battle fleets in ruins. "Alert the High Council immediately," Vexlar commanded, his voice resonating with urgency. Classification: Omega Protocol. Within minutes, the vast chamber of the Galactic Council aboard the massive space station Concordia erupted into chaos. Representatives from over 200 species convened an emergency session, their voices rising in a cacophony of alarm, speculation, and fear. High Counselor Zorath, a towering bipedal entity whose silicon-based body resembled polished obsidian, raised 4 of his 6 arms to silence the assembly. "Order. We will address this situation with the dignity befitting this council." As the chamber quieted, Zorath's voice echoed with grave authority. "After 2 centuries of isolation, humans have breached the isolation accord. Their warship has entered the cerulean expanse without authorization or announcement. We must determine their intentions before this situation escalates." Ambassador Ilara Thal, the Council's premier diplomatic envoy, stepped forward. Unlike many Council members, Ilara appeared almost human, save for the iridescent scales that covered her skin and the vertical pupils of her amber eyes. Her species, the Thalorians, had once been among humanity's closest allies. "High Counselor, with your permission, I will lead the diplomatic contingent to make contact with the human vessel." Zorath's crystalline features shifted in what passed for concern among his kind. "Ambassador Thal, this mission carries extreme risk. The humans' technological capabilities were already formidable when they withdrew from galactic affairs. After 2 centuries of development in isolation, all the more reason to send someone familiar with their culture and psychology," Ilara countered. "I have studied human history extensively. If anyone can establish peaceful dialogue, it is I." After brief deliberation, the Council approved her mission. Within hours, Ilara's diplomatic vessel, the Concorde, departed Concordia Station, accompanied by a small escort of Council security ships. As they approached the human warship, Ilara felt her heart racing. The vessel before them defied conventional design aesthetics, where Council ships favored sweeping organic curves or crystalline geometric perfection. The human ship was an intimidating amalgamation of angular plates and protruding structures that seemed to shift and reconfigure even as they watched. "Fascinating," murmured Krell, the Concorde's sensor officer. "Their whole composition is, I can't even identify the material. And there's some kind of energy field permeating the entire structure. It's like the ship is alive somehow." "Open a communication channel," Ilara commanded. "Standard diplomatic frequencies." Moments passed in tense silence before the main view screen flickered to life. The face that appeared was undeniably human. Dark skin, close-cropped hair with streaks of silver at the temples, and eyes that held the calm confidence of command. "This is Captain Miguel Reyes of the Earth vessel Horizon. Greetings, Ambassador Thal. It's been a long time since humanity has spoken with the Council. Ilara couldn't hide her surprise. You know who I am. A smile touched Raya's lips. We may have withdrawn from galactic politics, Ambassador, but we never stopped watching. Your diplomatic achievements are well documented in our archives. Recovering her composure, Ilara proceeded with diplomatic protocol. Captain Rice, your presence in this sector violates the Isolation Accord of 2347. The Council requests an explanation for this breach. The accord was never meant to be permanent, Ambassador, Rice replied, his voice carrying no hint of apology. It was a necessary pause while humanity reassessed our place in the galactic community. That reassessment is now complete. And what conclusions have you reached? Ilara asked, tension evident in her voice. That it's time for us to return. The galaxy faces threats that neither humanity nor the Council can address alone. Raya's expression grew more serious. We'd like to invite you aboard to discuss these matters further. You and 2 aides, as a gesture of goodwill. Alarms rang in Ilara's mind. Boarding the human vessel would place her entirely at their mercy. Yet diplomacy sometimes required calculated risks. I accept your invitation, Captain. My vessel will dock within the hour. When Ilara and her aides stepped through the airlock onto the horizon, they entered a realm that challenged everything they thought they knew about human technological development. The interior corridors seemed to pulse with subtle energy, surfaces shifting in color and texture as if responding to the crew's needs or moods. Captain Reyes greeted them personally, accompanied by a diverse group of human officers whose uniforms bore insignia that Ilara's database couldn't identify. Welcome aboard the Horizon, Ambassador Thal. This is my executive officer, Commander Sophia Lin, and our chief science officer, Dr. Kenzo Okamura. As they walked through the ship, Ilara noticed how the walls occasionally displayed information without any visible screens, how doorways appeared and disappeared seamlessly, and how the entire environment seemed to anticipate their movements. Your vessel is remarkable, she admitted. Nothing like the ships I remember from before the isolation. 200 years is a long time, Ambassador, Rice replied, especially when an entire species focuses its collective intelligence on advancement. They entered what appeared to be a command center, though it bore little resemblance to conventional bridge designs. Instead of control consoles and view screens, the circular chamber featured a central platform surrounded by shifting holographic displays that officers interacted with through subtle gestures. After the miscalculation, humanity realized we had reached a critical juncture, Rice explained as they settled into seats that formed spontaneously from the floor. The Council feared our technological progression, and perhaps rightly so. We were developing too quickly, too recklessly. So you withdrew, Ilara observed. We needed time. Time to mature ethically and philosophically alongside our technological growth. Rice gestured, and a holographic representation of Earth appeared above them, surrounded by an intricate network of orbital structures. We unified our planet, eliminated scarcity, and redirected our innovative drive toward sustainable expansion. Dr. Okamura leaned forward, his eyes bright with intellectual passion. But our greatest achievement was in quantum manipulation technology. We've moved beyond mere quantum computing to quantum restructuring, the ability to influence the foundational fabric of reality itself. Ilara felt a chill at his words. If humans had truly mastered such technology, the balance of power in the galaxy would be irrevocably altered. And now you've returned, she said carefully. Why now? What changed? Captain Ray's expression darkened. The Vayner. We've been monitoring their expansion from beyond the galactic rim. They've established beachheads in 12 systems already, and your council hasn't even detected their presence. The name was unfamiliar to Ilara, but something in Raya's tone conveyed the gravity of the threat. Captain, if you possess intelligence about a potential threat to galactic security, protocol requires you to share this information with the full council. And we will, Raya assured her. But first, I'd like to demonstrate exactly what humanity has become capable of during our absence. I think the Council needs to understand that the species they once tried to contain has evolved far beyond their imagination. As they spoke across the vast expanse of Concordia Station, the Council had convened an emergency security committee. Admiral Krell, the Council's military strategist, addressed the gathered representatives with grim determination. If humans have truly mastered quantum manipulation at the level they claim, they could potentially restructure matter at will. Defensive systems would be useless. Traditional weapons, meaningless. The Admiral's tentacles writhed with agitation. We must prepare for the possibility that they've returned not as partners, but as conquerors. High Counselor Zorath considered the Admiral's words carefully. Let us not rush to judgment. The humans withdrew rather than escalate conflict 2 centuries ago. That suggests restraint, not conquest. Or strategic patience, countered Representative Vox of the Mechan Collective, their synthetic voice emotionless. They may have simply waited until their technological superiority was absolute. As debate raged, one fact remained undisputed. Humanity had returned to the galactic stage, and nothing would be the same again. Back aboard the Horizon, Captain Rice led Ilara to a viewing platform that offered a panoramic vista of space. With a subtle gesture, he activated a communication link. "ARIA, initiate calibration sequence." A warm, feminine voice responded from all around them. "Calibration sequence initiated, Captain. Quantum field generators engaging." Before Ilara's astonished eyes, the very fabric of space before the ship began to shimmer and fold, as if reality itself was being gently remolded by invisible hands. "What you're witnessing, Ambassador," Rice said quietly, "is just the beginning of what humanity has learned to do. The question now is whether the Council is prepared to accept us as we are, or if they'll make the same mistake they made 2 centuries ago." Ilara watched the mesmerizing distortion of space-time with a mixture of awe and trepidation, understanding that the galaxy stood at the threshold of a new era, one shaped by humanity's return from self-imposed exile. The demonstration. The Horizon's observation deck provided a breathtaking view of the cerulean expanse, a sector of space where nebular gases painted the void in swirls of luminescent blue and violet. Ambassador Ilara Thal stood transfixed as Captain Rice demonstrated the ship's quantum manipulation capabilities. "What you're witnessing is a controlled quantum field projection," Rice explained as the space before them continued to ripple and fold. "We're essentially creating a localized pocket where the laws of physics can be selectively modified." Dr. Okamura, the ship's chief science officer, stepped forward, his enthusiasm palpable. "Traditional spacecraft navigate through space. We've learned to navigate the underlying quantum structure of space itself." Ilara struggled to comprehend the implications. "You're saying you can alter reality?" "Within defined parameters," Commander Lin clarified, her voice precise and measured. "It's not unlimited power. There are constraints and costs. But yes, we can influence certain aspects of physical reality by manipulating quantum probability fields." The demonstration concluded, and the space before them returned to normal. Captain Rice gestured, and a holographic display materialized, showing the Galactic Council's fleet positions throughout nearby sectors. "Your military response time has improved since our withdrawal," he noted with professional appreciation. "But your detection capabilities remain limited. That's why you haven't identified the Vanir incursion yet." "You keep mentioning these Vanir," Ilara said, her diplomatic training barely concealing her frustration. "Yet our extensive xenological databases contain no record of such a species." Rice nodded to Dr. Okamura, who initiated another holographic display. "They're not from our galaxy," the scientist explained. "Our deep space monitoring arrays detected their first scout ships entering the Andromeda Milky Way interface approximately 48 years ago. The hologram showed sleek, asymmetrical vessels that seemed to absorb rather than reflect light, dark shapes moving against the backdrop of stars like predators through night waters. The Vanir are a composite species, Okamura continued. Partially biological, partially technological, fully integrated. They don't colonize in the traditional sense. They convert. Planets, resources, even indigenous life forms are broken down and restructured to serve their expansion. Ilara's scales paled. If such a threat exists, why haven't you shared this intelligence with the Council? Would you have believed us? Rise asked simply. After 2 centuries of isolation, if we had simply transmitted this data, would the Council have accepted it as fact or dismissed it as human manipulation? Before Ilara could respond, a gentle chime sounded throughout the chamber. The warm voice of Araya, the ship's artificial intelligence, filled the space. Captain, the Council delegation has arrived. Representatives from 7 species request permission to come aboard. Rice smiled at Ilara's surprise. I took the liberty of extending invitations to key Council members while you were touring our propulsion systems. If we're to address the Vanir threat together, we need to establish trust quickly. Within the hour, the Horizons Conference Chamber housed a gathering unprecedented in recent galactic history. High Counselor Zoreth himself had come, along with military, scientific, and diplomatic representatives from the Council's most influential member species. Tension filled the chamber as Captain Reyes stood to address them. Distinguished representatives of the Galactic Council, thank you for accepting our invitation. I understand our return raises questions, perhaps even fears, about humanity's intentions. Zoreth's crystalline form shifted in a manner that conveyed cautious acknowledgement. 2 centuries ago, humanity demonstrated technological capabilities that threatened galactic stability. Today, by your own admission, those capabilities have advanced exponentially. Our concerns are not without foundation, Captain. Fair enough, Reyes conceded, which is why we've invited you here, not to threaten or demand, but to demonstrate and propose. He turned to Commander Lin. Sophia, if you would. Lin activated a holographic projection that filled the center of the chamber, a detailed 3-dimensional map of the galaxy with specific sectors highlighted in red. These are the current locations of Vanir conversion operations, she explained. 16 systems affected so far, all on the galactic rim, all beyond your standard patrol routes. Admiral Krell, whose tentacled form dominated one side of the conference table, leaned forward skeptically. Our deep space monitoring would have detected such widespread activity. Not necessarily, Dr. Okamura interjected. The Vanir utilize what we call quantum shadow technology, a method of existing slightly out of phase with normal spacetime. To conventional sensors, their ships appear as nothing more than minor gravitational anomalies, easily dismissed as natural phenomena. The Council representatives exchanged troubled glances as Reyes continued. We're not here to criticize your detection capabilities. We're here because humanity has developed the means to counter this threat, but we cannot do it alone. The scale is too vast, the stakes too high. High Counselor Zoreth's voice resonated with diplomatic caution. What exactly are you proposing, Captain? A partnership, Reyes replied simply. Humanity contributes our quantum manipulation technology and detection systems. The Council provides the infrastructure and cooperative framework needed to implement these defenses across the galaxy. Before Zoreth could respond, Araya's voice interrupted with uncharacteristic urgency. Captain, emergency alert. We're detecting a Vanir conversion wave approaching the Proxima colony. Estimated arrival: 17 minutes. The chamber erupted into chaos as Council representatives demanded explanations and verification. Reyes raised his voice above the commotion. This is not a demonstration we planned, but it is an opportunity to prove what we've been telling you. He turned to the Council representatives. Proxima Colony houses over 3 million beings from 12 Council species. If you don't believe our warnings, at least allow us to protect them. Admiral Krell's tentacles writhed with agitation. The nearest Council defense fleet is hours away. The horizon isn't, Reyes said firmly. We can reach Proxima in minutes using our quantum fold drive. You're welcome to accompany us and witness firsthand what humanity has become capable of, and what the Vanir can do if left unchecked. High Counselor Zoreth conferred briefly with his colleagues before turning to Reyes. We will observe your intervention, Captain. But understand that any deception will be considered an act of war against the Council. Understood, Reyes nodded. Araya, prepare for immediate departure to Proxima Colony. All hands to battle stations. What followed was unlike anything the Council representatives had ever experienced. Rather than the gradual acceleration of conventional drives, the horizon seemed to fold the space around itself, creating a tunnel through the quantum substrate of reality. The journey that should have taken hours was completed in less than 3 minutes, as they emerged near Proxima Colony, a sprawling habitat built into a captured asteroid. The threat became immediately apparent. 5 Vanir vessels approached the colony, their dark forms distorting light around them as they prepared to unleash their convergent technology. On the Horizon's command deck, Captain Rice stood calm amid the controlled chaos of battle preparations. Araya, initiate quantum interference pattern Alpha. Target the lead Vanir vessel. The Council representatives watched in stunned silence as the human warship projected what appeared to be a concentrated wave of distorted spacetime. When it struck the lead Vanir vessel, the effect was immediate and devastating. The ship didn't explode or break apart. Instead, it seemed to unravel, its matter reconfiguring into harmless particles that dispersed into space. By the eternal stars, whispered Admiral Krell. What did you just do? Dr. Okamura explained as the Horizon engaged the remaining Vanir ships. We reversed their own conversion technology. The Vanir reshaped matter to serve their purposes. We reshaped their matter to serve ours. In this case, dissolution. One by one, the Vanir vessels suffered the same fate, unraveling into cosmic dust before they could deploy their weaponry against the colony. Within minutes, the threat had been neutralized completely. High Counselor Zoreth's crystalline form pulsed with intense patterns of light, a sign of profound emotion among his kind. You could have deployed this technology against the Council. Against any species. We could have, Reyes acknowledged quietly. But that's not who we chose to become during our isolation, Counselor. Humanity learned difficult lessons from the miscalculation. We developed our technology alongside a philosophy to guide its use. Commander Lin stepped forward. Our quantum manipulation abilities are indeed powerful, but we've implemented biological and technological safeguards to prevent misuse. Every ship, every system requires consensus from multiple human operators who are psychologically evaluated for empathy and ethical reasoning. As the Council representatives processed this information, Araya reported, Captain, we're detecting quantum shadow signatures consistent with a much larger Vanir fleet approaching from Sector 87. Estimated arrival, 48 hours. Reyes turned to Zoreth and the other Council members, his expression grave. This was just a scouting party. The real invasion is coming. Now you've seen what we can do and what we face. The question is, will humanity and the Council stand together, or will ancient mistrust doom us all? In the tense silence that followed, the fate of the galaxy hung in the balance, dependent on whether centuries of suspicion could be overcome in the face of an existential threat. Humanity unleashed. Aboard the Concordia station, the Galactic Council chamber had never witnessed such frantic activity. Representatives from hundreds of species gathered in emergency session as reports from the Proxima Colony incident spread throughout the galaxy. The holographic displays showed footage of the Horizon neutralizing the Vanir vessels, a demonstration of power that inspired both awe and terror. High Counselor Zoreth addressed the assembly, his crystalline form pulsing with the gravity of the moment. The evidence is irrefutable. The Vanir threat is real, and humanity possesses technology that can counter it. We must decide our course quickly. The main Vanir fleet approaches. Admiral Krell's tentacles twisted with agitation as he spoke. We cannot ignore the military implications of human quantum manipulation technology. If we align with them against the Vanir, What happens after the threat is neutralized? Will they then turn these weapons against us? Ambassador Ilara Thal stepped forward, her scales shimmering with conviction. I have spent time aboard their vessel. I have observed their capabilities firsthand. If humanity intended conquest, they would not have revealed themselves in this manner. They would not have warned us about the Vanir. They would have simply acted. The debate raged for hours until a direct transmission from the horizon interrupted the proceedings. Captain Reyes' face appeared on the central display, his expression grave. Counselors, our long-range sensors have detected the main Vanir fleet accelerating toward populated council space. They'll reach the Proxima sector in less than 24 hours, half the time we initially projected. We believe they've adapted their drives after analyzing the destruction of their advance force. Zoreth's voice resonated through the chamber. What are you proposing, Captain? A joint operation, Reyes replied without hesitation. The Horizon will engage the Vanir directly, but we need council vessels to evacuate vulnerable colonies and establish a defensive perimeter. This isn't just humanity's fight. After a tense silence, Zoreth spoke for the council. We will coordinate with your vessel, Captain. May the wisdom of the stars guide us all. As the transmission ended, preparations began throughout council space. Defense fleets mobilized, evacuation protocols activated, and for the first time in centuries, human and council forces began to synchronize their operations. Aboard the Horizon, Captain Reyes convened his senior staff. Commander Lin, Dr. Okamura, and the ship's tactical officer, Lieutenant Commander Ishida, gathered around the quantum projection table. The Vanir fleet consists of 27 major vessels and numerous support craft, Ishida reported, her holographic display showing the approaching formation. Based on their configuration, we believe the central vessel houses their collective consciousness. Dr. Okamura nodded in agreement. Our analysis of the debris from Proxima suggests the Vanir operate as a distributed intelligence, disrupt the central node, and we may disorient the entire fleet. What about our quantum displacement technology? Reyes asked. Can we scale it to affect multiple targets simultaneously? Okamura's expression grew concerned. Theoretically, yes, but the energy requirements would be immense. We'd need to divert power from all non-essential systems, including defensive shields. A calculated risk, Commander Lin observed. If we succeed in disrupting their central intelligence before they can react, the risk becomes acceptable. Reyes studied the tactical projections, his expression resolute. Araya. Run simulation sequence Delta 7. Show me projected outcomes of a direct quantum displacement attack on the Vanir command vessel. The eye's warm voice filled the chamber as holographic scenarios played out before them. Simulation complete. Success probability 68.3%. Primary risk factors: adaptive response from Vanir secondary vessels and energy depletion of our primary systems. Not ideal odds, Reyes murmured, but better than the alternatives. He looked at his officers. Begin preparations. We engaged the Vanir in 18 hours. As the Horizon made final preparations, a small council delegation led by Ambassador Ilara Thal requested permission to remain aboard during the battle. Captain Reyes granted their request, recognizing the importance of trust in this fragile alliance. The hours passed with mounting tension until finally, the Vanir fleet emerged from quantum shadow at the edge of the Proxima system. Their vessels resembled massive, angular sculptures of obsidian, absorbing light rather than reflecting it. As they approached, sensors detected the beginning of their conversion process, a wave of quantum disruption that would reshape all matter in its path to serve the Vanir collective. On the Horizon's command deck, Captain Reyes stood calm amid the storm of activity. Araya. Initiate quantum fold. Bring us within displacement range of their command vessel. The human warship performed what appeared impossible to conventional physics. It folded space around itself, traversing vast distances instantly to emerge directly before the central Vanir ship. Quantum displacement field at full capacity, reported Lieutenant Commander Ishida. Ready on your command. Reyes hesitated for just a moment, aware that this action would forever change humanity's relationship with the galactic community. Engage. The horizon projected a concentrated field of quantum energy, a beautiful, terrible aurora of restructured reality that enveloped the Vanir command vessel. For a breathless moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then, the massive ship began to shimmer, its matter restructuring at the quantum level. But the Vanir had not survived interstellar conquest by being unprepared. Before their command vessel could completely dissolve, the surrounding ships responded with a coordinated attack unlike anything humanity had encountered, beams of anti-quantum energy that disrupted the horizon's field projectors. Alarms blared throughout the ship as systems began to fail. Direct hit to our quantum stabilizers, Commander Lin reported, her voice steady despite the emergency. Displacement field collapsing. Secondary Vanir vessels are adapting to our technology. The situation deteriorated rapidly. Without its quantum displacement capabilities, the horizon was vulnerable. The Vanir ships surrounded them, preparing to unleash their conversion wave. In this critical moment, Captain Reyes made a decision that would redefine humanity's place in the galaxy. Area. Initiate Protocol Prometheus. The A's voice carried a note of concern. Captain, Protocol Prometheus has never been field-tested. The consequences could be unpredictable. We're out of options, Reyes replied grimly. Execute now. Throughout the ship, hidden systems activated. The vessel's quantum core began to pulse with unprecedented energy as Aria's presence expanded through every system. The council representatives watched in amazement as the walls, floors, and very structure of the ship became translucent, revealing intricate patterns of energy flowing through quantum-entangled pathways. What's happening? Ilara asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Dr. Okamura answered, his eyes wide with wonder despite the danger. We're initiating full quantum integration. Aria isn't just an eye. She's a quantum consciousness capable of directly interfacing with the fundamental structure of reality. The transformation was breathtaking. The horizon began to pulse with energy that defied conventional sensors, its very form becoming fluid and adaptive. When the Vanir launched their next attack, the energy beams passed harmlessly through the ship as if it existed in a different phase of reality. Full quantum integration achieved. Aria announced, her voice now resonating from everywhere at once. Initiating counter-response. What followed defied description in any conventional language. The horizon didn't attack the Vanir fleet. Instead, it rewrote the quantum probability field surrounding them. Space itself became a weapon, as fundamental forces temporarily altered their behavior in localized areas. Vanir ships found themselves in regions where the laws of physics no longer operated as expected, where matter couldn't maintain cohesion, where energy couldn't flow in predictable patterns. One by one, the Vanir vessels destabilized, their technology unable to adapt to this fundamental reshaping of reality. The few ships that survived quickly retreated, folding space in their own manner to escape the incomprehensible power humanity had unleashed. As the quantum storm subsided, the horizon gradually returned to its normal state. Captain Reyes found himself facing the astonished council representatives, who had witnessed power beyond their understanding. This, High Counselor Zoreth's translator struggled to convert his thoughts into words. This is why you isolated yourselves. Not because you feared us, but because you feared what you were becoming. Reyes nodded solemnly. 2 centuries ago, we glimpsed the potential of quantum manipulation. We recognized that such power, without the philosophical and ethical framework to guide it, could destroy not just the galaxy but reality itself. We withdrew not in fear or anger, but in responsibility. Ambassador Ilara studied the human captain with new understanding. The isolation accord wasn't imposed on humanity. You requested it. We needed time. Commander Lin explained. Time to develop safeguards, to evolve our understanding alongside our technology. We needed to become worthy of the power we could wield. In the aftermath of the battle, As Council ships arrived to secure the Proxima system, Captain Rice addressed a joint communication to all Council species and human colonies. His message was simple but profound. The age of isolation had ended, but a new era of cooperation had just begun. Today, we faced a threat that no single species could have overcome alone. The Vanner will return, stronger and more adapted. But so will we. Together, humanity and the Council can achieve what neither could separately: a galaxy where diversity is our strength, where different perspectives and capabilities combine to create something greater than the sum of its parts. In the Council chamber days later, representatives voted unanimously to establish the Joint Defense Initiative, a new framework for galactic security that incorporated human quantum technology with Council diplomatic and logistical infrastructure. As Ambassador Ilara and Captain Rice signed the historic accord, she asked the question that had been on many minds. When humanity withdrew, did you know what you would become? Did you anticipate this outcome? Rice smiled thoughtfully. We hoped, Ambassador. Hope is perhaps humanity's greatest strength. Our ability to envision a better future and work toward it, even when the path is uncertain. And now, she pressed, what does humanity hope for now? He gazed out at the stars visible through the chamber's vast observation dome. To be worthy of our place in this galaxy. To use our capabilities not for dominance, but for protection. To help create a future where all sentient beings can evolve toward their highest potential. As word spread throughout the galaxy of humanity's return, and the new alliance forged in the face of the Vanner threat, a transformation began. Species that had viewed each other with suspicion for millennia found common purpose. Technologies that had been hoarded as strategic advantages were increasingly shared for mutual benefit. The galaxy would never be the same. The human warship that had entered the sector hadn't brought conquest or domination, but something far more profound. A new vision of what diverse species could accomplish together when ancient fears gave way to newfound trust. And somewhere beyond the galactic rim, the remaining Vanner vessels regrouped, adapted, and prepared for their return, unaware that the alliance they had inadvertently created would be waiting, stronger and more united than before.